My name is Elena Marquez, and I'm 43 years old. For the past 9 years, it's just been me and my daughter, Sophia. When my ex-husband, Victor, walked out on us, Sophia was only 8. He left for a woman he met through work, someone younger, more exciting, at least in his eyes. He didn't fight for custody. He didn't even pretend to want weekends or holidays. He simply shrugged off the weight of fatherhood like it was a jacket that didn't fit him anymore. And I picked up the pieces. I worked long hours as a construction project manager, hauling overtime shifts to make sure Sophia never felt the gaping hole he'd left. Westfield Academy, one of the best private schools in our state, I paid for it. $32,000 a year, a brand new car for her 16th birthday, a white Lexus she swore made her fit in with her classmates, trips, tutors, summer programs, the gaming laptop she just had to have. Not because I was rich, not because I wanted to spoil her, but because I wanted her to feel chosen. That despite everything, her mother would move mountains to give her the life she deserved. Or at least the life I thought she deserved. A few weeks ago, Victor slithered back into the picture. This time with Camilla, his glamorous girlfriend. She's all glossy hair, designer handbags, and curated Instagram stories. The kind of woman who calls herself a lifestyle coach, even though no one can ever really define what that means. Sophia was instantly enchanted. Camilla told her she could help her find her brand, that she had the charisma to be an influencer, that she shouldn't let people hold her back with outdated dreams like college. And suddenly, weekends at her father's place became the highlight of her week. I told myself it was fine, that Sophia deserved to know her father, even if he'd abandoned her once, that she could handle balancing both worlds. But I wasn't prepared for the knife she drove straight into my chest last Sunday night. We were in the kitchen. I had just set a pot of arroz con pollo on the table, the smell of saffron and garlic filling the room. Sophia barely looked up from her phone as she spoke. "Mom," she said casually, like she was asking about homework, "you're not really my mom." I froze, wooden spoon still in my hand. "Excuse me?" She lifted her eyes then, bright and sharp, rehearsed almost. "I mean, biologically, yeah, but Camilla gets me better. She actually supports my dreams, instead of lecturing me about grades in college. She says I can live with her and Dad once I turn 18. She wants to help me build my online brand." Her voice carried a mix of defiance and excitement, like she expected me to argue, to lash out, to prove her right about me being the strict one. Instead, I just looked at her, my own daughter, my Sophia, the same girl whose fever I sat through countless nights, who clutched my hand at her first recital, who once whispered that I was her favorite person in the whole world. And she was telling me I wasn't her real mother. Something inside me went cold. I placed the spoon down carefully, as if one wrong move might shatter me into pieces. "Okay," I said softly. Her brows furrowed. "Okay?" "That's what you believe," I replied, keeping my tone calm, almost detached. "So be it." She blinked, confused by my lack of a fight. "Mom, don't—" I cut her off with a small nod. "If I'm not really your mother, then I don't have real obligations, do I? Mothers pay for private school. Mothers buy cars. Mothers sacrifice every waking hour to make sure their children succeed. But if that's not me, if Camilla is the one who supports you, then perhaps she should take care of those things." The color drained from her face. "Wait, you don't mean—" "I do." Her phone slipped in her grip. "Mom, no, that's not what I stood, carrying my plate to the sink. My back was to her, but my voice was steady. "Dinner's getting cold. Eat if you want. I've lost my appetite." Behind me the silence stretched. Then the scrape of a chair, her footsteps retreating, the slam of her bedroom door. I stayed rooted to the spot, staring at the tiled backsplash as if it might offer answers. My heart was breaking, but under the heartbreak was something sharper, almost merciless. 9 years. 9 years of sacrifice, of putting her first, of working myself to the bone, and all it took was a few weeks with her father and his polished girlfriend for her to dismiss me. If she wanted Camilla as her mother, then she could live with the consequences. That night, I sat at the kitchen table long after the food had gone cold, bills spread out before me, the familiar weight of numbers pressing on my chest. For once, though, I wasn't thinking about how to stretch every dollar. I was thinking about what I wouldn't pay for anymore. Westfield Academy? $32,000 saved. The Lexus? Easily resold. The college fund? Well, that belonged to my daughter, and apparently I didn't have one anymore. I poured myself a glass of wine, my hands trembling only slightly, and as the night deepened, so did my resolve. If she wanted to test what life without her real mom felt like, I was ready to show her. The storm had already begun, and by morning, it would break wide open. Monday morning, I woke with a dull headache, the kind that comes from too little sleep and too many heavy thoughts. The wine glass was still on the counter, half empty, mocking me like a witness to my midnight resolve. I made coffee, strong and black, then picked up the phone. My voice didn't waver as I explained to the Westfield Academy bursar that financial support for my daughter, Sophia Marquez, would be ending immediately. The woman on the other end sounded startled. "Mrs. Marquez, are you sure? It's the middle of the semester." "I'm very sure," I said, pressing my palm against the cool countertop. "Effective immediately." She hesitated before replying. "Sophia will have 5 business days to secure alternative funding. Otherwise, she'll be withdrawn from enrollment." I thanked her politely, hung up, and exhaled. The first domino had fallen. By noon, the Lexus was listed online. Clean photos, fair price. I didn't have to wait long before offers rolled in. That afternoon, Sophia came storming into the house, eyes red and puffy, her uniform wrinkled. "Mom, what the hell?" I didn't answer right away. I stirred the pot of beans simmering on the stove, savoring the control in my silence. She slammed her backpack onto the floor. "They called me into the office today. The principal said you're not paying tuition anymore. They humiliated me, Mom, in front of everybody." I finally turned, spoon in hand. "Talk to your real mother figure about it." The words sliced through the air like glass. Her lips trembled. "Don't say that." "You said it first," I replied, my tone flat. "I'm just honoring your truth." Tears pooled in her eyes. "You're ruining my life over one comment." "One comment?" I shook my head, incredulous. "No, Sophia. It wasn't just a comment. It was a declaration, and declarations have consequences." She crumbled into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "This is insane. You're insane." I didn't argue. I let the silence press against her, let her own words echo in her ears. That night, my phone lit up with messages. "Victor, 47 texts in the span of an hour. What the hell are you doing? You can't just abandon your daughter like this. This is emotional abuse. Camilla's cousin is a lawyer. He says this is illegal. Sophia is traumatized. You've lost it." I scrolled through them with a weary detachment, replying only once. "She has a real mother figure now. Ask Camilla to cover it." Victor's response came immediately. "You're pathetic." I blocked him. Tuesday, the onslaught intensified. Sophia tried a new tactic. She cooked dinner for the first time in 2 years. Burnt lasagna, over-salted salad. But she stood there proudly, waiting for my reaction. "Dinner's ready," she announced with forced cheer, her eyes darting nervously to mine. I sat, took a bite, chewed slowly. "Thank you." Her shoulders sagged with relief. Afterward, she cleaned her room, vacuumed the living room, even folded laundry that wasn't hers. Then she padded into my bedroom, hesitant, her voice soft. "Mom, can we talk?" I set aside the book I wasn't really reading. "Talk." She perched at the edge of the bed, twisting her fingers. "I didn't mean what I said Sunday. I was just, I don't know, exploring my relationship with Dad and Camilla. You're my real mom. You've always been there." Her words should have felt like balm. Instead, they stung like salt on a wound. "And this realization has nothing to do with your tuition being cut off? With the car being sold?" I asked, eyes narrowing. She swallowed hard. "No, of course not." "Uh-huh." I let the silence stretch until she looked away, shame coloring her cheeks. Finally, I said, "I won't be manipulated, Sophia. Not by love bombing, not by guilt, not by theatrics. You made a choice. You can live with it." Her voice cracked. "Mom, please." I cut her off. "Go to bed." She flinched as if I had struck her, then bolted from the room. The slam of her door echoed down the hallway like thunder. By Wednesday, Victor escalated from texts to theatrics. He showed up at my workplace, Camilla by his side, both of them fuming. Security had to escort them out after Camilla started shouting in the lobby. "You're destroying Sophia's future. You're jealous because she loves me more." I watched from the mezzanine, my boss beside me. He raised an eyebrow. "That your ex?" I nodded. He just patted my shoulder. "Stand your ground." That night, Sophia tried once more. She sat me down, eyes glossy with desperation. "Mom, I'm sorry. Really. I'll never say anything like that again. Just restore the payments, please." I leaned back in my chair, studying her. "And when Camilla buys you designer handbags? When Victor promises you the world? Will you forget again?" Her gaze faltered. "That's different." "Get out of my sight." She recoiled, her breath catching, before stumbling from the room. As the door shut, I finally allowed myself a moment of weakness. My chest ached, my throat tightened. I wanted nothing more than to gather her in my arms, to tell her I forgave her, that I would fix everything like I always had. But I didn't, because this time she had to learn. By Thursday morning, the deadline loomed like a guillotine. The school wanted payment by Friday. Victor had threatened lawsuits 6 times. Camilla had posted cryptic Instagram stories about toxic mothers, and Sophia oscillated between rage, tears, and desperate affection, as if cycling through emotions might open a door back to the life she'd lost. She didn't realize yet that the door was locked, and I was holding the key. Friday arrived with the weight of Judgment Day. I had circled the date on my mental calendar all week, and by sunrise I could already feel the storm brewing. Sophia didn't go to school that morning. She sat at the kitchen counter, staring blankly at her cereal, spoon untouched. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her phone clutched like a lifeline. Every few minutes it buzzed. Victor, Camila, friends from Westfield, and every time she flinched. Around noon, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Victor standing on my porch, arms crossed, his jaw tight. Beside him, Camila, in oversized sunglasses despite the cloudy sky. And behind them, an older woman I didn't recognize. Stern eyes, silver hair pulled into a bun, the type of posture that screams judgment. "This is my mother, Rosa," Camila announced, her voice dripping with superiority. Of course, the matriarch. I didn't invite them in, but they walked past me anyway, the scent of Camila's perfume overpowering the faint aroma of coffee in the living room. Rosa didn't waste time. She fixed me with a glare and began, "In our family, Elena, we don't abandon children over words. My daughter is trying to guide Sophia into adulthood, and you—" I held up a hand. "Your daughter? Camila isn't Sophia's mother." Rosa's chin lifted. "She is stepping into the role that you're clearly failing." Victor added, "Elena, come on, you're being petty. She made one mistake." "She's 17, I countered sharply. 17 is old enough to know what words mean. Old enough to call me not her real mom. If she's old enough to say it, she's old enough to face the consequences." Camila removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes blazing with indignation. "You're jealous. Sophia loves me. I encourage her dreams instead of suffocating her with your outdated ideas about college. That's why she respects me more." I let out a bitter laugh. "Respects you? Is that what you call it when a teenager parrots your nonsense about branding and followers? Respect doesn't pay tuition. Respect doesn't put gas in the Lexus. Respect doesn't build a future." The room went quiet, just the ticking of the wall clock between us. Finally, Victor cleared his throat. "Look, Elena, I know Camilla's not you, but if Sophia sees her as a mother figure, you should accept that and not punish her." "Punish?" I asked, my voice calm but cold. "You wanted to be her hero for a weekend. Camilla wanted to be her cheerleader. Fine, heroes and cheerleaders pay tuition, right? So where's the check?" Rosa gasped. "How dare you?" "No, how dare you?" I shot back, my patience unraveling. "You lecture me about family values when your daughter's playing dress-up as a parent. If Camilla is the better mother, let her pay $32,000 a year. Let her put her name on the Lexus title. Let her open her bank account for Sophia's future." Camilla's face tightened. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. That was answer enough. "Get out," I said, pointing toward the door. Victor tried one last attempt. "Elena, please, think of Sophia's friends. Her life is at Westfield. You're destroying her senior year." "No," I replied, voice steady. "She destroyed it when she decided I wasn't her mother. I'm simply adjusting my financial priorities accordingly." The silence was thick, suffocating. Then, with a dramatic toss of her hair, Camilla turned and stormed out, Rosa trailing after her with muttered insults in Spanish. Victor lingered just long enough to shake his head at me, disappointment painted across his face, before slamming the door behind him. I stood in the middle of the living room, trembling with adrenaline, when I noticed Sophia. She had been listening from the hallway, her expression stricken. "Mom," she whispered, but I walked past her without a word. That night, the real explosion came. Sophia, in her fury, took to Instagram. She posted a long caption under a moody black and white selfie, accusing me of being a toxic narcissist who can't handle rejection. She claimed I was financially abusing her, that I had abandoned her for my own ego. She tagged Victor, Camila, half her extended family, even some of my coworkers. By morning, the post had gone semi-viral in our community. Over 1,000 likes, hundreds of comments. Most of them roasted her. Bro said his mom wasn't his mom and thought the bank would still stay open. Actions have consequences. Welcome to adulthood, princess. Team Mom, respect to Elena. But sprinkled among them were vicious attacks against me. Heartless. Cruel. A mother should never do this. Shame on you. My phone buzzed non-stop with messages. Some supportive, many not. My brother Carlos texted, "Saw the post. Want me to clap back?" I replied, "No, let her cook." But the damage was already done. The humiliation was public now, out in the open. Sophia couldn't take it back. By Sunday, the school made it official. Westfield Academy processed her withdrawal. She'd be enrolling at Jefferson High, the local public school. When I told her, she erupted. "You're sending me to Juvenile Hall High," she screamed, tears streaking her face. "Do you know what Westfield kids call that place? It's where futures go to die." I folded my arms. Sounds like a personal problem. "I won't get into Columbia now. My record is ruined." "Talk to Camilla," I said calmly. "Maybe she knows someone in admissions." Her fists clenched at her sides. "Stop saying that. You're my mother." I looked her in the eyes, unflinching. "No, I'm just some woman you're biologically related to. Your words, Sophia, not mine." She stared at me, mouth open, before crumpling to the floor in sobs. The sound pierced me, but I didn't bend. Not this time. Because humiliation has a way of teaching lessons words never can. And Sophia was finally beginning to learn. By Monday morning, reality had landed squarely on Sophia's shoulders. No more Westfield Academy. No more designer car parked in the driveway. No more illusion that Camilla and Victor could provide the golden life they promised. She pulled on the Jefferson High uniform with the same look someone wears when headed to prison. "Mom, do you know what Westfield kids call Jefferson?" she muttered. I sipped my coffee. Enlighten me. "Juvenile Hall High," she spat bitterly. "Everyone knows it's trash. You've destroyed me." I met her eyes across the table. "No, Sophia. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided words didn't matter. You chose Camilla. You chose Victor. And now you live with it." Her spoon clattered against the bowl. "I hate you," she whispered. I didn't flinch. "Good. Hate me, but learn from this." She stormed out, slamming the door. That night, I found a folded note slid under my bedroom door. "Mom, I messed up. I know I messed up. Dad and Camilla filled my head with things, telling me you were too strict, that you didn't want me to succeed, that you were jealous. I believed them because I wanted to. But I see now, they can't give me what you can. They can't even afford their own rent without help. Camilla promised me dreams she couldn't deliver. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I just want you to be my mom again, my real mom." I sat on the edge of my bed, reading it over and over. My chest tightened. Was this genuine, or just another ploy, because the walls of her fantasy had caved in? I didn't answer her, not yet, because the cracks in her fairy tale were just beginning to widen. 2 days later, the phone rang. It was my lawyer friend, Keith, chuckling before I even said hello. "Elena, you'll love this one. Victor, filed an emergency petition claiming you're financially abusing Sophia by pulling her from private school." I nearly choked on my tea. Financially abusing her? Yeah, the judge laughed it out of court. Said, "Private school isn't a necessity for a 17-year-old. Case dismissed." I couldn't help it. I laughed until my stomach hurt. For the first time in weeks, the weight on my chest lifted. Victor hadn't given up, though. By Thursday, he was back at my door with Camilla trailing behind, both of them looking worse for wear. Camilla's glossy veneer was cracking. Her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. Her nails, once immaculate, were chipped. She stood with her arms crossed tightly over her chest, lips pressed in a thin line. Victor did the talking. "Elena, you've proven your point. Sophia's miserable. You've humiliated her. You've destroyed her future. Are you proud?" "I'm not proud," I said evenly. "I'm resolved." Camilla snapped then, her voice shrill. "Do you know what you've done to me? To my brand? Sophia was supposed to be part of my image, the perfect stepdaughter, the proof that I could balance family and success. Now she's in public school? People are mocking me." I raised an eyebrow. "Ah, so this was never about Sophia. It was about your brand." Her face twisted, ugly beneath the layers of foundation. "You ruined everything." Before I could respond, a knock sounded at the door. 2 men in suits stepped up the porch. "Are you Camila Alvarez?" one asked. Her eyes darted between them, confusion giving way to panic. "Yes, why?" "Ma'am, we have a warrant. You're under investigation for fraudulent business practices, specifically selling counterfeit beauty products under the guise of pharmaceutical-grade skincare." The blood drained from her face. "What? No, that's ridiculous. This is a mistake." But the officers were already reciting her rights. Victor's jaw fell open. "Wait, hold on, you can't, she didn't..." They led Camilla down the steps as neighbors peeked through curtains. The polished influencer who once strutted through life like she owned it was now handcuffed, her brand unraveling in real time. I leaned against the doorway, arms folded, watching the spectacle with a calm I hadn't felt in weeks. Victor spun back toward me, rage twisting his features. "This is your fault. You drove her to this with your vindictive crap. If you just paid Sophia's tuition, Camilla wouldn't have been under so much stress." I barked out a laugh, sharp and humorless. "So, let me get this straight. Camilla committed fraud because I stopped paying for private school? That's Olympic-level mental gymnastics, Victor. Maybe you should try for a medal." He sputtered, but the words died in his throat. He had nothing. Sophia appeared in this hallway then, her face pale, eyes wide. She'd seen it all. The police, the handcuffs, her father's pathetic excuses. The fairy tale was shattered. Later that night, she knocked softly on my door. Her voice was small. "Mom?" I didn't answer right away. I wanted her to sit in the silence, to feel the weight of everything she'd chosen. Finally, I said, "Yes, Sophia." She opened the door, tears brimming. "I don't want to stay at Dad's anymore. Please. I don't feel safe there." I studied her. The trembling hands, the broken voice, the fear that wasn't just teenage dramatics but genuine realization. For the first time in weeks, I saw my daughter. Not the entitled, sneering teenager parroting Camilla's nonsense, but my little girl again, scared and small. I didn't embrace her, not yet. Instead, I said quietly, "Then prove you mean it." Because forgiveness wasn't free, and this time, Sophia would have to earn it. In the days that followed Camilla's arrest, the silence in my house was different. Less hostile, more fragile. Sophia moved quietly, almost reverently, as if she knew the walls were listening and she couldn't afford another misstep. She stopped slamming doors. She came home right after school. She even helped with dinner, chopping onions through tears that weren't only from the sting. I didn't rush to close the gap between us. I kept my distance, waiting, watching. Wednesday evening, I found her in the kitchen, hunched over a pile of Jefferson High homework. For once, she wasn't scrolling her phone or posing for selfies. She was working. "Need help?" I asked. She looked up, startled, then shook her head quickly. "No, I'll figure it out." Her voice carried determination I hadn't heard in months, maybe years. That weekend, she came into the living room clutching her notebook. "Mom, can we talk?" I set aside the laundry basket and nodded. She sat across from me, wringing her hands. "I'm sorry. For everything. For what I said. For choosing Dad and Camilla. For humiliating you online. I was stupid." Her voice cracked, tears slipping free. "You've always been my mom. The only one who's actually been there. And I treated you like trash. I don't know why you even let me back in the house." For the first time since this nightmare began, I reached for her hand. "Because you're my daughter, and no matter what you say, no matter how deep the wound, I will always be your mother. But love without respect?" I paused, letting her meet my eyes. "That I can't give." She nodded, sobbing quietly. "I'll earn it back, I promise." Meanwhile, Victor's life was unraveling in tandem with Camilla's. She was facing charges for selling counterfeit skincare products that had hospitalized a customer. He, stripped of her glittering illusion, looked smaller somehow. One night, Rosa, Camilla's mother, showed up at my door with Victor trailing behind like a scolded child. "Elena," Rosa began, voice sharp, "you've destroyed 2 families. My daughter is in jail. My grandson humiliated. You should be ashamed." I sipped my tea calmly. "Your daughter destroyed herself with lies and fraud. Don't put that on me." Victor stepped forward, desperation in his tone. "Please, Elena, think about Sophia. She needs stability. She deserves her car back, at least." I laughed bitterly. "No, Victor. She deserves lessons. She'll get a car when she graduates with a GPA above 3.5. Until then, she walks or takes the bus like every other kid who isn't bankrolled by parents playing savior." Rosa's face flushed crimson. "You are cruel." "No," I corrected. "I'm consistent. There's a difference." They left in a huff, but the truth lingered like smoke. Their empire of image and pretense had collapsed. As for Sophia, something in her shifted. Jefferson High, the place she once called Juvenile Hall High, became less of a punishment and more of an awakening. She made a friend, Maya, a sharp, grounded girl in her AP Calc class. One evening, Sophia admitted sheepishly, "She told me I was entitled, that I deserved everything that happened." And she was right. I raised an eyebrow. "And what did you say?" "I told her, thank you." Sophia laughed through the embarrassment. "Can you believe it?" I smiled faintly. Maybe she's good for you." Her cheeks flushed. "She is. She's real. Not like the Westfield kids." I didn't push, but I saw the spark, and I prayed it was the kind of spark that would keep her anchored in reality. Months passed. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt. She studied harder, cleaned her room without prompting, even picked up a part-time job at a cafe down the street. One night she asked, "Mom, can I still use my college fund? Even if I don't go to Columbia? Maybe community college, then transfer?" I nearly dropped my fork. "You're considering community college?" She nodded. "Maya's doing it. She said it's smart financially. I don't want to waste what you saved." Emotion swelled in my chest, so fierce it nearly broke me. "That money has always been for your education, Sophia, but this summer you're working. You're paying for your gas, your insurance, your own extras, understand?" She smiled, watery but genuine. "Deal, Mom." It was the first time in months she'd called me that without hesitation. The last confrontation came one Saturday morning when Rosa, Victor, and a haggard-looking Camilla, out on bail, showed up at my door. They wanted peace, they said. They wanted family unity. I stood in the doorway, coffee in hand, robe tied around my waist, not moving an inch. Rosa started with her usual sermon. "Elena, this has gone on long enough. Families forgive. Families unite." I cut her off. "Families also show up. They sacrifice. They tell the truth. None of you did that for Sophia. Don't lecture me about family." Camilla's voice was hoarse. "Please, I know I made mistakes, but Sophia shouldn't suffer because of us." I looked at my daughter, standing just behind me. Her back was straight, her chin lifted. She didn't shrink this time. "She won't," I said, "because she's learning, and she'll keep learning, but not from you." I closed the door in their faces. That evening, Sophia and I sat side by side, eating the dinner she'd cooked, scrambled eggs and overcooked bacon, but edible. She glanced at me shyly. "Mom, are we good?" I took a breath. "We're getting there, step by step." She smiled, small but hopeful. Later, when she'd gone to bed, I sat at the kitchen table staring at her old college fund statement. $127,000. I could buy the motorcycle I'd always dreamed of, or I could keep it safe, waiting for the day Sophia truly earned it. I closed the laptop and poured myself a glass of wine. I hadn't won anything. I had simply stopped losing. And in that quiet, fragile peace, I realized sometimes the hardest part